Welcome to the final reckoning of a life devoted to chasing the fleeting intoxication of the flesh. You knew them as the charmer, the Casanova, the femme fatale who drifted through life-consuming hearts and abandoning bodies. They brandished their sexuality like a weapon, using it to dominate, manipulate, and ruin. They convinced you that being near them was a privilege, all while one eye scanned the exit and the other searched for the next target. You watched them grow older with the uneasy thought that justice might never arrive, that they would simply slide into old age, untouched, still smooth, still seductive, still escaping consequences. But today the ledger is open, and the figures tell the truth. This is sexual bankruptcy. Sexual bankruptcy is the inevitable and horrifying destination of every somatic narcissist who never developed a soul. Picture a billionaire who squandered every cent renting supercars, but never bought a home. When the cash is gone, they aren't just broke, they are ruined. The narcissist spent decades exchanging youth and beauty for validation, treating their sexual appeal as if it were endless. But biology is a merciless auditor. Once they cross 50, the market collapses. The currency they once used to purchase people, their looks, their energy, their desirability, loses value overnight. And because they invested nothing in kindness, loyalty, or depth, they are left with nothing at all. The question that haunts every survivor is this: are they still enjoying themselves? You picture them thriving on apps and in bars, living an endless fantasy. But here's the reality. The party ended years ago, the lights are bright, the music is silent, and they are standing alone on the dance floor, aged, frantic, and painfully out of place. The fun they broadcast online is a desperate performance meant to drown out the emptiness of their life. They are not winning. They are insolvent, begging for attention from people who once chased them. We are about to expose the misery hidden behind the closed doors of the aging player. When a narcissist loses sexual power, they lose their identity. Sex was not something they did. It was who they were. It was their sole language with the world. Without it, they vanish. And for a narcissist, invisibility is worse than death. And we will examine the panic attacks, the costly and disfiguring procedures, the humiliating attempts to date people decades younger, and the crushing realization that they have become a punchline in the circles they once ruled. This is not about revenge. It is about reality. You have spent enough time grieving their betrayal and emotional cruelty. You felt unworthy because they chose novelty over the stability of your love. But now the balance has shifted. You are aging with the dignity of someone who has substance. They are decaying with the terror of someone who is hollow. We are witnessing the slow, painful deterioration of a predator who has lost their teeth but still tries to bite. Curse of the flesh is real. By choosing the physical over the emotional for 50 years, they destroyed their capacity for connection. Now that they need care, intimacy, and authentic love, they are surrounded by strangers or paid help. They cannot love, they only consume. And an aging predator cannot hunt. Reduced to scavenging scraps, they seethe with bitterness that the feast is over. This is not karma, it is cause and effect. You might imagine them laughing beside new supply, but here is what happens in the silence of their bedroom. They stare into the mirror, hugging its sagging skin, thinning hair, and confronting the terror of approaching loneliness. The freedom they once bragged about, the freedom from attachment, from commitment, has transformed into a prison of isolation. Yes, they are free, free of love, free of family. free of anyone who truly cares whether they wake up tomorrow. We are going to dissect the fall from wanted to pathetic. In their 30s, they hunted. In their 40s, they mastered the game. But in their 50s and beyond, they become nuisances, awkward figures lingering too long at the bar, unaware that it's time to leave. The world has moved forward. The sexual marketplace has changed, and they are clutching a currency that no longer holds value. They are trying to buy a Ferrari with monopoly money, stunned when the world laughs. This is not simply about aging or changes in appearance. It reflects the breakdown of an identity built almost entirely on external validation. Their sense of importance depended on being admired, and when that admiration fades, they are left unsure of who they truly are. They never invested in self-understanding beyond how others responded to them. What remains is an internal emptiness. The discomfort you sense comes from recognizing a life spent chasing brief excitement while overlooking relationships that grow and deepen over time. Take a moment to steady your because we are about to look honestly at the later stages of a narcissistic life, often marked by loneliness, coping behaviors, and transactional interactions. By the end, you are unlikely to feel jealousy. Instead, you may feel a quiet sense of relief that this is not your path. This is an examination to grasp sexual bankruptcy. You first have to understand the somatic narcissist's internal economy. To them, people are not individuals. They are reflective surfaces. Each sexual encounter becomes a mirror that whispers, "You are powerful. You matter." They hoard these reflections the way a miser hoards coins. But unlike gold, sexual validation depreciates. It expires. The narcissist constructed their entire sense of worth on a fragile base, physical appeal. As time passes, the tide rises, the sandcastle collapses, and they are left standing on an empty shore, exposed and trembling. They fall into the void of the non-self. Because their life was a performance, they never formed a true identity. They survived by shape-shifting, adapting their colors to lure the next conquest. Now, at 50, the chameleon is exhausted. Colors are dull. When they look inward for comfort, there is nothing there. No wisdom, no passions, no enduring bonds, only the hollow echo of past victories. Blend. That emptiness becomes a gravitational pull, threatening to consume them. They try to pack it with more sex, but it is like dropping stones into a bottomless pit. The collapse of their market value inflicts a narcissistic wound that never closes. For years, sex came without financial cost. They paid with youth, charm, and appearance. Now that market is shut down. Attention has a price. They must buy drinks, pay for dinners, offer gifts, or directly purchase companionship. This shift from being desired to being a customer shatters their ego. It confirms a brutal truth: they are no longer the prize. They are the payment. Envy begins to rot them from the inside. They look at the young not with warmth, but with violent resentment. They despise youth for possessing what they squandered. They resent young couples for sharing a love they cannot feel. This envy curdles into bitterness, turning them into the sour, judgmental elder who attacks everyone, projecting self-hatred onto the world. Blamed their addiction to novelty turns against them. Their brain has been wired to respond only to the rush of someone new. Stability feels like suffocation. A calm relationship registers as death. But here is the trap. At 50, novelty is hard to access and painfully draining. So they are stuck, repelled by stability, and rejected by novelty. They exist in a constant state of restless dissatisfaction, itching for relief they can no longer reach. Then comes objectification reversal. They spent a lifetime reducing others to bodies. Now the world reduces them to their age. They are overlooked, dismissed, invisible to those they desire. For someone who must be the star, becoming background noise is psychological torture. They cry out for attention, but the world has pressed mute. Mortality terror intensifies. For a grounded person, aging is a passage. For a somatic narcissist, it is a personal insult, a cosmic betrayal. Every wrinkle is experienced as failure, every gray hair as treason. They wage a frantic, graceless war on time, dressing too young, acting too loud, denying what everyone else sees. But time has never lost a battle. What remains are transactional connections. Because they never learned how to bond, they only know how to barter. I give you this, you give me sex. As their value drops, the cost rises. They offer more and receive less until they are exploited by people colder and sharper than themselves. The hunter becomes prey, drained by hustlers and opportunists. They know they are being used, but loneliness keeps them trapped. Beneath it all is a lethal shame spiral. At some level, they know the truth. They are aging, empty, and alone. This awareness generates unbearable shame, which they must suppress at any cost. So they numb it with alcohol, gambling, or explosive rage. The smiling profile picture hides a face twisted with self-disgust. They are running from themselves, but their body can no longer keep up. In the end, they are trapped in Peter Pan syndrome gone rancid. Peter Pan is enchanting as a child. He is tragic as a thinning, volatile older man trying to linger with the lost boys. The emotional growth they froze in adolescence is now undeniable. They are toddlers in aging bodies, a grotesque contrast that repels anyone with real maturity. Then comes the breaking point. There is always a moment, a single night, when the illusion collapses. Maybe it happens at a club when the bouncer looks at them with pity. Maybe it's when a flirt calls them sir in a tone that signals they are no longer in the game. The realization hits with crushing force. I am not a player anymore. I am a ghost. Panic floods in. The desperate pivot begins. They attempt to purchase their way back into relevance. This is when the flashy sports car suddenly appears, the extreme cosmetic procedures begin, or the bizarre relationship with someone 30 years younger who clearly can't stand them. They are hurling money at their own aging and calling it a solution. It is denial turned into theater. They are trying to negotiate with death using a facelift. The sugar daddy or sugar mama phase emerges. They accept their sexual bankruptcy and begin paying directly for affection. But this shatters them mentally. Every swipe of the credit card is a brutal reminder that they are no longer enough. They know the desire is counterfeit. They know that I love you really means I love what you pay for. That awareness corrodes their narcissism like an aggressive disease. They are buying a reflection they know is false, and the lie poisons them anyway. Bland. They begin hunting in the gutters. Since emotionally healthy partners reject them, they drop their standards. They target the vulnerable, the addicted, the emotionally damaged, or the very young and inexperienced who don't yet see the danger. They scrape the bottom just to find someone willing to echo their imagined importance. The former king or queen now presides over a dive bar, surrounded by people they secretly despise, clinging to the illusion of superiority by being the sharpest mind in a miserable room. The rage episodes intensify and become frightening. The frustration of sexual decline converts directly into fury. They explode at service workers. They mistreat aging spouses who haven't yet escaped. They provoke their own children. Like an injured animal, they lash out blindly because they are in agony. The agony is ego death. They are grieving themselves while still breathing. They start hoovering the archives. This is why you suddenly receive a message after 15 years. Hey, just thinking of you. They circle back to old supply because the current market has locked them out. They hope you forgot the harm. They hope you are lonely. They want to squeeze one last drop of validation from a dried out source. When you reject them, and you must, it devastates them. It proves that even their past wants nothing to do with them anymore. Their pornography addiction escalates into something dark and compulsive. Deprived of real-world validation, they retreat into screens. They chase harsher, more extreme material just to feel something. Nights are spent alone under the glow of blue light, trapped in a humiliating cycle of arousal and disgust. The legendary lover is reduced to a solitary voyeur. Then the health crisis arrives and exposes the truth of their isolation. When they finally fall ill or collapse, who shows up? The one-night stands don't come. The paid companions don't come. The people they discarded don't come. They lie in a hospital bed scrolling through a contact list, realizing there is no one to call. The nurses treat them professionally, not reverently. The loss of special treatment drives them mad. They become the creep. The label hardens. Society stops calling them eccentric and starts calling them disturbing. Comments that once felt charming now trigger discomfort or HR complaints. They are pushed out of the social circle because they refuse to mature into the role of elder. They insisted on remaining the seducer, and now they are the exile. The turning point ends in complete insolvency. They finally understand that nothing can restore what they lost. The account is empty. Sexual bankruptcy is final. The bank is shut. The assets are seized. They are condemned to spend the rest of their life in the poverty of their own presence. The collapse is not dramatic. It is slow, cold, and silent. It is the universe applying gray rock to the narcissist. They end up alone in a house that is far too large, filled with echoing quiet. The souvenirs of their conquests, photos, memories, trophies, become tools of torment. They stare at images of their younger self and cry, not for time wasted, but for power gone. They live inside a museum of their own past, and no one else visits. Their children, if they exist, often go no contact. The children remember the neglect. They remember the parent who was always chasing attention instead of sitting in the bleachers. Now that the parent is old and dependent, the children are absent. The narcissist screams abandonment, adopting the victim role, blind to the reality that they abandoned their children long ago in pursuit of pleasure. They die waiting for a visit that never happens. Financial ruin frequently follows the somatic curse. Maintaining the illusion of desirability is expensive. Alimony, settlements, surgeries, gifts, memberships. It drains everything. Many reach old age broke, having spent their wealth preserving an image. They end up in state facilities, stripped of the luxury they believed they deserved by birthright. Blands. They become bitter chroniclers of their own mythology. They corner anyone who cannot escape, a neighbor, a caregiver, and replay their glory years. I could have anyone I wanted. People lined up for me. They repeat these stories endlessly, trying to convince the listener and themselves that they mattered. The listener nods politely, checking the clock, feeling only pity for the delusion. Paranoia takes root. Isolated and furious, they begin to believe the world is conspiring against them. They suspect the nurses, the staff, the system, everyone but themselves. They believe the threat is coming from outside themselves. They become convinced their neighbors are mocking them. That laughter follows them down the hall. The mind that once engineered seductions now manufactures conspiracies. Mental energy curdles into paranoia. Somatic decay becomes their private inferno. For a narcissist, frailty, incontinence, or dependence is not merely physical. It is an existential collapse. To be cleaned, to be fed, to be lifted from a chair annihilates what remains of their self-image. They lash out at caregivers because those caregivers embody their helplessness. They scream at the hands that sustain them because they despise needing support. Then the final discard happens. To them, the world lets go. They are no longer relevant. New generations rise who have never heard their name and have no interest in learning it. They dissolve into the background hum of society. For someone who required center stage, becoming an extra is worse than death. They are written out of the cultural narrative. They die as strangers. Often the somatic narcissist passes surrounded not by loved ones, but by paid staff and distant relatives waiting on paperwork. There is no grieving spouse, no shattered partner, only the beep of medical equipment and the shuffle of forms. The intimacy they avoided their entire life is conspicuously absent at the end. And what they leave behind is not love, but damage. Their legacy is trauma. People in therapy untangling the harm they caused. Funerals are frequently thin, uncomfortable, or attended by those who feel quiet relief. The eulogies are empty because there is nothing substantial to praise. They lived life their own way becomes a polite translation for selfishness until the last breath. At its core, the curse is emptiness. They spent decades licking the frosting and throwing away the cake. Now they are starving. Too late, they understand that free sex was the most expensive purchase of their life because the cost was their soul. Line. So here is the truth you must absorb to heal. You did not lose. You believed they were winning because they looked entertained while you were in pain. But they were never enjoying life. They were anesthetizing it. They were sprinting from their own mortality, and they failed. You built a life rooted in substance. They built one fueled by sensation. Substance endures. Sensation evaporates. Their so-called freedom was a cage. Sleeping with anyone meant belonging to no one. They wandered through the emotional landscape without a home. You, with your ability to love, commit, and feel deeply, are the one who is truly free. You can connect. They are imprisoned